Episode 11 of the Unhyped AI podcast. This week, the nonsense of the viral Harvard Business Review article, AI Workslop. Well, the article might be a little bit of workslop. Google releases a study on AI adoption that refutes the AI failure narrative and actually focuses on ROI. What a novel concept. 1 year of Agentic AI by McKinsey misses some critical points, like ROI. Does plagiarism matter in the age of AI? EY cribs from Data to Profit in its latest report, but does it really matter? And is there anything we can do about it? Indeed says AI will impact tech jobs more than any other industry. Are they right? Is it just software engineering and tech, or is it bigger than that? Accenture to cut staff who can't be retrained for the AI era. Is that for real, or is it just more excuses for layoffs? Google releases Gemini Robotic 1.5, its first agentic AI models, which is kind of exciting. OpenAI's models are scheming in dangerous ways, not so exciting. And people are more likely to lie if AI gives them plausible deniability. Let's go. Anyway, episode 11. How did we make it to 11? We made it past 10. We took a little bit of a break, retooling a little bit, rebuilding around hopefully what's a little bit more interesting visual content for everyone. Stuart, thanks for being back. I appreciate it after the lengthy delay. Appreciate you coming back.
It's like we always say, isn't it? Like 2 weeks, that's the delay, but it feels like 2 months or 24 months, doesn't it, in this phase,
It is incredible. I like the clock. It's a good clock behind you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It pre-existed before, but nobody could see it. So my wife sets the scene for me, so I don't know how long it will last.
Well, it's a good look. I mean, as I pointed out, we have a little bit of a gap here, which big batch of foreshadowing with what's coming next. So we'll talk about that hopefully next week or in the coming weeks. There's space for something back here.
Your massive rack.
Oh, yeah. Well, kind of, yes. It's going to be sort of an amazingly loud. I'll have to keep that off while we're recording.
Yeah.
That's all the foreshadowing we can do. There might be some very heavy-duty equipment coming in behind me, which it'll be an even better background than I've got right now. But let's kick off. Okay, we have to talk about Harvard Business Review. AI Workslop. AI Workslop is the best clickbait title I've ever heard. But what do you think? You read the full report. I read the full report. What did you find inside of it?
Oh, I'm easily angered by these things. Far too easily triggered, I think used to be the term, didn't it? It was everywhere, wasn't it? Workslop. Now, it was the nature, again, HBR, they just seem to have this thing, destroying productivity, Vin. Workslop is destroying productivity. This is hard-hitting stuff. No wonder it goes viral. So, you've got to look into it. So I think there's something, they've touched on something that probably a lot of us have felt. Okay, fair enough. There's a lot of, perhaps AI drafts floating around inside organizations that, people have perhaps used AI where they shouldn't have. It looks polished, but it doesn't have substance. Fine. We can all kind of feel that. And you can understand even that tapping into the frustration of co-workers. Apparently they have to do rework. Okay, fine. We're still on relatively safe ground. But it was the methodology of it and the people just taking it at face value. So this is a survey. At the time it had 1,150 US employees. It's all self-reported. We've no idea what roles they particularly had. Workslop was just not defined, so roughly defined. It could literally have sort of incorporated anybody's rough draft. Basically it was vibes, so people guess, oh yeah, about 15% of it is Workslop. Oh, I guess it takes me about an hour and 56 minutes in wasted time. So all we've got to do now from HBR's perspective is now do some numerology and we can get to $9 million wasted in any organization over 10,000 people. I mean, it was ridiculous. And what we're looking at here is what we're always looking at. We're looking at sort of scapegoating the hammer for bent nails, as I always say, it's always going to, amplify what's already there. If you've got a weak review culture, it's going to get worse. Workslop isn't the problem. This is a management problem, if it's even happening. It's just kind of like, here's a vibe and we'll put some dollars behind it, but everybody just kind of took this, ran with it, and I get too easily triggered. There's just no doubt about that. So it's my bad.
When I read this, I think the visceral reaction all of us have is remembering one or two instances that were particularly egregious, where someone said this, and I'm on multiple advisory boards, and one of the boards I'm on, the CEO started doing this a couple of years back, where you started seeing more and more AI slop creeping into the things that they sent up to the board for review. And eventually one of us had to sort of say, look, come on, you've got to stop this. This is not acceptable. You need to have original thought. Don't send me something that I'm just going to send through AI to get a summary of. I think everyone who's written code has gotten the AI generated pull request where we're looking at a PR and it's just like, what? This is not, none of this is, but that's not really that new, because I used to get copy pastes from Stack or from, some forum where you would look at it and go, I know this is so bad. And you would just look at it and go, okay, this is someone we might need to get rid of soon, because you can't just copy paste. So I think that was the reaction. All of us have I remember these, and they're right. It's sort of like passing the buck. What's even worse is when people start preferring AI slop, where they look at something and they go, no, this is too human. It's just one of those, what? What do you mean it's too human? And they will replace parts of it.
Does it never occur to them that, like, kind of, the message you're giving out here is, I can be replaced by AI? Why employ me? And this was the marvel of the article, was it tapped into something we've all felt, we've all experienced, and then put magical numbers, and that's the part that grates me, But yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean, it is so funny because you're right. It is really about the anecdote,
Yeah.
small sample size, but they blew it into this
Oh,
viral thing because all of us have,
yeah.
one or two coworkers where we're looking at the work that they deliver, and it's just, you will not be here much longer, my friend. I'm sorry. I like you, but your work is so bad. And I've seen work product quality decline in some groups and we have to, with clients, we have to put guardrails in place around usage where we say, look, and this is part of core RIM, you have to decide what parts must remain human because human is
Yeah.
premium. And if you build your competitive advantages around human is premium, you can really differentiate right now because there is so much AI slop.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of this. I think that it's going to bear out in marketing and events and things like that, where that human touch is going to start standing out more and more. And as I've said in previous episodes, the irony is that LLMs use that human boosting as a signal. So the irony is that's more likely to be spread around on the open web, like somebody's human take on an event or on marketing or on a product or whatever. And I think we're going to see this odd reversal, which would be nice. It would be
It,
nice.
oh, it's about time. It
Yeah.
cannot happen fast enough. This backlash has already hit things like gaming
Yeah.
and advertisement, online content creation is definitely seeing the backlash, the beginning of the wave. We've seen a lot of this already,
Yeah.
and I think there is more and more of a backlash growing.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's just, I get it as well, because what I do is I've been very open about this. Is that once I've drafted something, like for LinkedIn, for example, I'll go through a polish process. Whether I always thought I was a fabulous writer, but whether I like it or not, based on vanity metrics, people do seem to engage well if it's been through that polish. But then, of course, you get accused of AI slop. So there's kind of like this middle ground that we're all going to have to kind of get used to, which is okay, fine. You use it as a tool, but you can't just go to it and say, write me a post, write me a strategy. That's the classic one. Isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I say with clients, we've built so many guidelines for how to
You have
use
to.
AI
Yeah.
and when to use it, when not to use it.
Yeah.
If you don't do that as a business, this stuff can get out of hand
Oh, yeah.
very, very quickly. And you
Yeah.
can, yeah, that whole being accused of being AI only, oh, such a huge danger for
Yeah.
companies, turning into sort of the AI slop factory.
Well,
No
we'd
one
all
wants that label.
converge. Everything would
Yeah,
just converge. Everybody
yeah.
would have the same strategy. Everybody, it'll all be identical.
Speaking of strategy, Google has published a report that actually talks about value. Who knew? Who knew that if you talked about
Wow.
value and ROI, if you focus on value and ROI up front, that's what you get? Who knew?
Wow.
And Google published this report. I want to bring up some of the pieces of it because it's a really, really big contrast, isn't it, between this report and all of the other ones that are like, oh, just spend, just spend more money and everything will be
Yeah.
okay. Just spend more on consulting. And they're really just sort of building this narrative that everything's failing. And if you don't hire them as a consultant, you will too, which is just such a bad narrative. And I love some of these slides. This one, it doesn't look great. I'm going to be honest. ROI is thriving across use cases. 39% of executives saw ROI on Gen. That's still not great. That still means the majority are not seeing AI ROI, and it's only productivity. Productivity, customer experience, sales, and marketing. These are not growth drivers, and that's where AI should be coming in. So yes, it's better than that whole 90%, 95% failure narrative, but at the same time, this is still not great. And looking at sort of the whole big picture on this, they've got different levels of maturity, but you notice again, okay, so great. We've got maturity levels, simple tasks, AI agent applications, and multi-agent workflows. Okay, but how does the multi-agent workflow create value better than simple tasks? And it's really hard to find actionable pieces from this because when you hear use cases, okay, great, customer service and experience. Yeah, we already know that. Yeah, this is cost savings. Marketing, again, it's just cost savings. Security ops and cybersecurity. We're hitting cost savings on everything here. And then we get into one that could be growth and revenue driving, and it's product innovation and design. But okay, what does that mean? Give me something here. Dig into this metric a little bit. I mean, that's cool, but okay. Uh, just there has to be more to it. There has to be more depth. When you dig into each one of these, agent use case by industry, customer service and experience, and it's just okay, yeah, cost savings, cost savings, cost savings. But what I think is really interesting, software development, the one that we're hearing AI is replacing every software developer in the world. Okay, well, it's only being only less than half in media and entertainment and the public sector. I like Google for this because they are so value centric and they're so focused on UI or on the ROI component of AI that it is such a better survey, such a better study. But at the same time, we need to get past these generics. We need to get past these, it almost feels like just talking points. This one was my favorite example. Agentic AI early adopter organizations have at least 50% of their future AI budget allocated to agents. I want to see what percentage of growth, what percentage of your revenue growth for the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years is pegged to AI initiatives. That's the number we care about. It's not the budget. It's not how much you spend. It's what percentage of your growth do you expect to come from AI? Why is that better than, this is one of my AI strategy KPIs that I teach. You have to focus on value creation. You can't focus on spending or all you're going to get is more spending. When the metric to hit is spend more, well, what's going to happen? You're going to spend more. Are you going to necessarily get more value out of it? And not so much. It's the same thing with these types of metrics. 39% of organizations' total annual IT spend is allocated to AI versus 26. Like, that's the reason why they're a leader, is because they're spending more. That's the implication. And it's one of those, no. This is the slide that makes me feel good. This is the slide that makes me feel a little bit happier because here's that KPI that I wanted. Here's the thing that I think is more important. Revenue growth from generative AI. Okay, yeah, generative AI. Maybe I have some problems with it being so focused on one wave, but increase in overall annual revenue between 1 and 5%, between 6 and 10%, more than 10%. This is what we should be focusing on. This is the number we should be seeing moving in an upward direction. But as you can see from last year, it's pretty much flat. This is not what we should be seeing. We should be seeing growth accelerating from this. And that's, really my takeaway is we need to start being more growth centric. We need to start being more value centric. I want to hear your thoughts on this. After seeing all of the bad surveys, I mean, this is a breath of fresh air, but at the same time, it feels like there's work left to be done.
Well, I mean, today it was actually a week or so ago. HBR put an article out was make sure your AI strategy actually creates value. I, I, my first instinct, as you know, was to mock it. No, whatever, Sherlock. But it was that sort of self-reflecting on, oh my goodness, this message still needs to be said. It uh, it's as you can tell, I'm quite speechless about it. But then, if we have a look at sort of what's being put out there, this is a great segue into the McKinsey, sorry, 1 year of agentic AI. So what you had like their 6 elements of what they've learned, and it was very satisfying in many respects because it's that boring grunt work that nobody wants to talk about. So you had governance of risk, skills and talents, data foundations, a business and operating model, all of these sorts of things, change management, all the rest of it, all good so far. But what's missing? ROI. No, absolutely no talk about anything to do with what your chief financial officer could take to the bank. No receipts, no durability, just this kind of readiness. You're ready theatre. Like sort of these 6 elements are like infinity stones. You just snap your finger and, the financial outcomes and the P&L impact is there. It's really quite bizarre. So you kind of see this, how agentic AI might shift revenue or margin or risk or customer experience, but not really. It's just sort of scaffolding and really it really ties into what you were saying there, because this is all about spending more money. This isn't about state change that you can evidence. It's all about scaffolding and getting, and they even talk about like this whole problem of pilot hell, but never tell you how to get out of it, how to break the cycle. And it's really, really fascinating to me, Vin, because McKinsey, sorry to pick on McKinsey, but they put out another
Don't
one
be.
today.
Pick on
Yeah,
him. Go get him.
go get it, which
Go
was
get
the
him.
agentic organization. Okay, fine. This sounds really good. I do love reading this stuff because McKinsey are one of those weird ones that when they get it right, they get it right. And when they get it wrong, they just get it wrong, really badly. Now, this was a fascinating one because they were casting agents as the successor to the industrial and digital revolutions, big, sweeping stuff, ambitious stuff. And then they say they urge leaders to think boldly, move fast, and go deep. All sounds marvelous, apart from the fact that this whole, in my opinion, this whole sort of FOMO induced go fast, rewire the business, operating models, governance, workforce, technology stacks. This is what they're advocating to go fast on. Is actually what's created the pilot hell that we've kind of ended up in. So there's this kind of real irony that comes out of it, where there's no talk of ROI, but we must all go really, really fast. Well, as you know, I'm sort of kind of like, now I'm advocating discernment as the new velocity, because it's like, hold on a second, let's take a step back. Maybe we can start looking at the value flow, something we've spoken a lot about, Vin, where, and if this is the appropriate technology, where can it potentially go to accelerate that value flow? None of that's been spoken about. So yeah, I agree with you, albeit a lot of generalization there from Google. But thank goodness I can forgive them. I can forgive them because they're actually talking about ROI.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they've taken this approach. You look at all of the major consulting companies, and their approach is buy our services. And I mean, honestly, I'm a consultant. That should be my approach too. But that's the wrong way to look at this. It's really about spending less. If you spend $1 on me as a consultant, I should save you money by preventing a lot of these boondoggles and a lot of these mistakes. And at the same time, I should be teaching transferable skills so that at some point the reliance on me ends. Why? Well, because data and AI are core parts of the business now. And if they're part of your core business model, you must own them. If they're parts of your core operating model, you must own them. That's this construct, the technology model. If this is going to create value, and I mean, that's the whole point of AI strategy, right? It's sort of redundant to say, make sure your AI strategy creates value. What? Well, yeah, that's what strategy means. I didn't think I had to explain that.
Exactly.
I've never had to explain that to a C-level leader at a client before. I've never. Yes, I teach it in AI strategy 101. Yes, I teach that. But come on. Why do we have to say that out loud? It's so ridiculous that this is where we are. If you spend money as a business, make sure you're getting some back. I didn't think we had to teach that. And it feels like
Exactly.
that's where we
I
are.
know. I know exactly that. So it's like I was gonna dump on them, and I thought, well, no, perhaps they're right. Perhaps that is
You're not
exactly where.
wrong.
But like, you said something there that you went right over, and it's not just about. I mean, I think that we could save the world billions and billions in just
Yeah.
stopping them going the wrong direction. Because it's kind of like I do feel for them. Like, so okay, we're talking about ROI, we're talking about value generation, but sometimes it's eye-watering what companies are spending to just go the wrong way. And you sort of think to yourself, my goodness, we've spoken a lot in the past about value-based pricing from a consultancy perspective. Sometimes I feel like I can save you 100 million. So you just pay me 10% of that and I'll go and sit on a beach somewhere and stop you doing all this. And then once you've got past that phase, we can look at generating, you know.
Stop wasting money first.
Yeah,
That's where a lot of
exactly.
businesses are. I talk to C-level leaders and they all implicitly understand that they're focused on the right things, but they're going in the wrong direction from a use case standpoint, from an opportunity discovery standpoint, from an AI strategy connecting to the core business standpoint, that construct of the technology model aligning with your business and operating model. They all have the sense that we're not directionally correct. I'm not talking about being strategically perfect. I'm talking about being directionally correct. They all have a sense that they are not going in the right direction, and that's what starts the conversation with me. But I think we get off track when we start talking about this in terms of, oh, we just have to spend more money, do more things, trial and error. No, there's a lot of that error that we can prevent up front. And we have to start talking about frameworks that do that more than we talk about frameworks. And this is one of them from McKinsey. I love this. There's one quote that I looked at. It's an important starting point in redesigning workflows is mapping processes and identifying key user pain points. No, it's absolutely not. That's digital. No, you're going the wrong direction. And when we talk about preventing, this is where you read these reports and you think, oh, if I just do the same thing with AI, I'm going to get the good results. No, AI is different. With AI, you have to not look at pain points, you have to look at outcomes. Where's the inefficiency in the outcome? Not the pain point in the task, not the pain point in the workflow. Because if you do workflow centric, sort of task oriented thinking, you end up just bolting AI onto the workflow. AI is outcomes centric. Yes, you have to look at the workflow, but you're reinventing it. What are you reinventing it for? To create the outcome either more efficiently or to create an outcome that you couldn't create in the past. It's these little things that are completely missing from these larger strategies that why are we losing ROI? This is exactly why.
Oh, I love that. I mean, it was 40 years ago in the digital. I can't remember the author's name. I only posted about it the other day. Don't repath the cow paths, which was kind of obliterate, don't automate. The whole philosophy behind it, because we did it with digital, didn't we? We went, well, we do it like that with paper, so now we're going to do it like that on the screen. And we've got that same 40, 50-year-old mentality. And of course, the wonderful thing, the opportunity, and you nailed it, the opportunity that's missed with AI is it is the best opportunity we've had in decades to re-examine why we do things, how we do things. Is it purposeful to do it like that? It gives us that and that's the thing that nobody's talking about, because of course that's the work before the work, and nobody wants to do the work before the work because they just want the big red button, just press here, transform. But
Oof.
yeah, there you go.
Oof. This leads into one more thing that if there's one more thing I can bring up. I feel like I'm shaking my fist at clouds, but
Oh
this is
no.
also from the same report. And I love this because if you've read my book, if you've taken one of my classes, this is my maturity model. I mean, truly, this is my AI product, AI capability. This is it, the maturity model. But you'll notice something's missing. What is missing? Well, data. I hate it when I get copied and they don't do it right. If you're going to copy my stuff, copy the whole thing because it's all important. I didn't just put some fluff in there for no reason. When you look at this, if you don't have these components here, there's no ROI in AI. It's just competitive maintenance. That's all you're doing is you're treading water, because if you can buy that system or connect to that API and use generic third-party data or your own, easily copied data sets, there's no competitive advantage as competitive maintenance. And so there's no ROI. You're just treading water. So you're spending all of this really expensive AI budget not to get ahead, but just to tread water, to do the same things that your competitors can do. And that's not the point. That's not where the AI is going to, or the ROI is going to come from in AI. You need data. Data is the competitive advantage. You need to be building these more complex data structures that are built for not only human consumers, but also agentic consumers, like knowledge graphs. And if you don't realize that AI and data are moving together on this maturity model in lockstep, you miss out on so much of the opportunity. And this is why I look at stuff like this. And, it brings us to the next segment. Does plagiarism matter anymore? I mean, McKinsey was a good example of they copied and they forgot the most important part. Oh, what did I forget? Oh, I forgot the data. I forgot my wallet. I mean, that's literally what they did. They left their wallet off this thing. But I looked at, there's another one. Ernst & Young, EY, does this interview on CNBC based on another report that they did. And 6 of their talking points, I mean, I literally pulled quotes out, and I was like, this is my framework, this is this framework, this is this framework. And I ask the question now anymore, does plagiarism matter? I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any sort of consequence anymore for plagiarizing stuff. They just do it. They're just like, maybe we'll get caught, maybe we won't. But in the age of AI, has LLMs made it so that plagiarism doesn't matter? Is everything fair use? As long as you paraphrase, you don't have to credit the original author? Because my book's been out for 2 years. I've been teaching this class for 7. Been talking about this on social media for even longer. I mean, it's documented. These are obviously my ideas. If you copy 1 or 2, yeah, that happens. That's a mistake. That's just, we do that a lot. You'll get one idea that you saw someplace and you just didn't remember it. You sort of synthesized it and made it your own. That's normal. 6 is weird. 6 is really hard to explain. And so I get to this point where does it matter anymore? I mean, what do you think? Does plagiarism exist?
You summed this up quite a while ago. The real worry is that it disincentivizes people to actually create value in these frameworks and make them publicly available in the first place. And that's the real fear, isn't it? Obviously, the creative industries have been struggling with this right from the beginning, and it's only as they start to encroach on other industries. And just as we've been discussing, one of the reasons why I pulled the trigger on my book was because I started to see these reports from those I will not name coming out and reading it, thinking, gosh, that's similar. That's similar to what I wrote about 3 or 4 months ago, nearly word for word, as it happens. And so you kind of think, I better get out and timestamp something here. And then, as you rightly say, as we discussed privately, they're going to do it anyway. And of course, when you're up against distribution like that, when they can get on media, when they can get on TV, when they've got huge distribution, you're never going to combat that. They were the originators of this idea. I mean, the best you can do is sort of squeak from the corner, isn't it? And say, I said that first, and trying not to do it in a way that sounds all boastful and humble and and what have you. But it's a fascinating place. I mean, I know full well that people are going to upload my book to a large language model, and they're probably going to give me the top 5 things I should know about in this. But I don't know how we're going to stop it. We're not going to stop it. And I mean, I think these big consultancies are some of the worst offenders. I'm just going to say it.
Stuart and I both have books. Stuart's book's called Unhyped, From Hype to Hard ROI in the Age of AI. You can get it at unhyped.pro/book. And my book, From Data to Profit, you can find that from datatoprofit.com. Great way to support the show and learn more about the concepts we talk about here. It's unreal. I mean, I look at it and I think to myself, obviously, you're right. There's going to be this disincentivization to put things out there publicly for free. Open source ideas are a thing. And businesses have relied on this for dynamism, meaning how do we get new ideas and new thinking into business? And when you look at social media sites like LinkedIn, love it or hate it, LinkedIn has contributed more to this conversation around monetizing technology than any other platform that we have. It's contributed to this construct of business dynamism and getting new, fresh thinking into businesses. But now, if you're not going to get any sort of attribution for it, you're not going to get any sort of credit, you can't monetize it in any way. If you can't do either one of those things, what's the point of putting these ideas out there in public? All of this is going to go behind a paywall. And the only companies that are going to have access to this are the ones who can afford it. The only people who are going to have access to this training and upskilling are the ones who can afford it or who can get their company to subsidize them and pay for it and to see the value in it. And I think that's going to create this massive divide of sort of technical have and have-nots. Some companies are going to figure out how to monetize AI because they have access to this thought leadership and these ideas, whereas other companies don't. And so as much as I look at a lot of these consulting reports and, you see the massive gaps and they don't tell you about this and that, I mean, I sort of get it. They don't want to be copied any more than we do. And they know that as soon as they put that idea out there publicly, or as soon as they teach it to too many people, it just suddenly becomes public domain and it's a free-for-all. Everyone takes credit for it. Everyone takes advantage of it. Now this thing that was a core differentiator of your business is no longer, it's just sort of been stolen from you. And there's no credit for it. You don't even get credit for being the thought leader who came up with it anymore. So it's almost, we're in technology, the reason why you get credit for an idea is because you build something with it. And so you're accredited with the product. The only reason I get any of these things forwarded to me is because clients will look at it and they'll go, this looks familiar. Hey, as seen from Vin 5 years ago. I got that from one client, one C-level leader at a very large client sent me, I won't say it, a large consulting company report, sent me a snippet from it and goes, as seen in Vin from 2020. And that's really what it was. These ideas are 5 or 6 years old. Leaders have already integrated them. And the only way you get credit anymore is if you've done it, if you've built it, if you've implemented it. And I think we're going to see that going forward because I don't know how you stop this.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you can. I mean, we've both sort of been victims to it. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. I mean, like there's always I've stood on your, taken, your frameworks, and of course I have. But it's that claiming it as your own without any due accreditation, which is the niggling part, isn't it? It really is. But I don't know. I don't, especially now you can upload it and just get it rephrased. I really liked what you said about LinkedIn there, by the way, because I do feel that it's a terrific platform. If you can mine the gold and you can see past the nonsense, there's actually some great minds on there, some great conversations going on. You have to get to it. Which is but then of course, you're pumping it out for free, and you just have to accept that fact that whatever you put out there publicly, is ripe for appropriation. I don't know how else to put it.
Oh shoot, it shall be.
It shall be. Yeah. Yeah.
Going away from jumping on top of consulting companies for a little bit and talking about an Indeed survey, AI at Work Report 2025. They're talking about how AI is rewriting the DNA of jobs. And so I want to bring this one up because it's got some really interesting conclusions and some findings that I think all of us sort of implicitly understand. But they broke things down into four, how AI is transforming. At least they defined it, and they broke it up into four constructs or four categories: minimal transformation, assisted, hybrid, where generative AI takes most of the work, but you still need humans as oversight, and then full transformation, it takes over everything. And if you look at this, full transformation, yes, they're right. The myth of replacement is completely debunked, but I think this is what's really interesting. 40% of skills that they surveyed looked like they would get the hybrid, meaning humans are still in the loop. They still maintain autonomy. If you're looking at my frameworks, I call this, the collaboration, where humans are transferring a little bit of autonomy over, but they're maintaining autonomy for the workflow. And they're holding on to that final oversight, quality assurance almost, but also handling the anomalies, handling the exceptions. So this is the human machine collaboration framework or paradigm in my frameworks. This is more human machine teaming. This is tooling. Where if you're looking at these, I think this is the interesting part, 40%. So looking at this in the collaboration, I think this is the big takeaway. 40% are getting into the collaboration. So 40% of the skills that they looked at, and that's really big. And if you look at this chart right here, software development, data and analytics, 1 and 2, where,
Wow.
oh yeah, it's huge. The percentage of the skills that are in the collaboration paradigm, that's really big. And this is going to be the trend going forward when you look at these fields, accounting, marketing, insurance, ops, infrastructure, support, systems, admin. I mean, all of this, you just keep going down this list and you realize there's so many of these industries that used to be very high paying jobs where the impact of AI and the AI, human AI collaboration paradigm is we're already there. We're over half of the job. I mean, if you look at all of these, we're over half of your skills now fall into the human machine collaboration or human AI collaboration paradigm. It was eye opening for me when I read that. And I think we need to be talking more about these disruptions because these disruptions are significant.
It's really fascinating. So I'm not asking you to be an expert in Britain, but after the kind of post-industrialization, when we became like a services country, it was the industrial north that was impacted very profoundly by that. And there was a new report came out, and I can't quote it because I only saw it in passing. And it was looking at the areas of the country that will be impacted by AI should things continue. And it was the affluent areas of London. and places like that, which ties in exactly to the kinds of job specifications that you're talking about there. And also, just to second that autonomy, full autonomous is nonsense to me. I don't think that's the future at all. And you must have seen as well as I do this sweet spot where we almost become stewards, and we have the anomalies escalated to us and the unusual, but that, as you say, that sort of collaboration between the two is the sweet spot. It's the spot I've seen working. I've no doubt you've seen that working as well. It's in tandem, and as you say, it's going to, there was in that report of areas of London being hit, it's how it impacts our young who are, being promised that, get your education and go into this, industry and be relatively affluent, could be non-existent in a few years. And how does that impact them? What kind of repercussions does that have? Sort of like we saw it 40 years ago in the industrialized North. Now we're potentially going to see it in knowledge work, and knowledge work was always one of those things, wasn't it, Vin? That, oh, we're impervious to automation. Not anymore.
Yeah, for me, the human machine tooling, human machine teaming, human machine collaboration, or human AI collaboration. Collaboration is where workflow reinvention becomes possible. In the earlier two paradigms, your workflow largely remains the same, but it's focused on optimization, it's focused on bolt-on. Collaboration is where you reimagine, reinvent the workflow. And that's where you see the highest returns, but you also see the highest impact on the future of work. I think people are still critical, as we opened up with human is premium, but at the same time, we have to start reskilling workers now. If we don't, we're going to have the same thing that happened with that first wave of robotics back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where it displaced so many factory workers and workers that were on assembly lines. And these used to be good middle class jobs. It's going to be the same thing in technology. It's going to be the same thing for other white collar areas like sales, marketing. I mean, it lists insurance, banking and finance, real estate, project management is another one, any sort of logistics support, HR, even media and communications is going to be heavily impacted. Legal fields are heavily impacted. All of these areas we have to start reskilling now, or we are going to put people out of work at a rate that we haven't seen in probably a decade. And these types of middle class incomes are just going to evaporate.
You literally could have named there the sort of areas of success that I'm seeing and being working with in those specific industries. You could literally have taken that off my diary of meetings. As I've said before, whenever I've spoken about this online, the first thing is you're a boomer, you're a luddite, and all the rest of it, and that's absolutely fine. But what people don't understand is what I'm getting at is the speed of transition. It's the rapidity of this that's coming fast. There isn't a generation to reskill and upskill. There isn't. This is happening at extraordinary, rapid, and accelerating timeline right now, and it's that gap. That concerns me the most. So yes, I understand change happens, and we're not in a static world, and yes, we do have to morph and retrain. That's all inevitable, the march of progress, as it were. But it's the speed of it that concerns me.
Yep. Yeah, me as well. Speaking of, Accenture is now getting rid of people. Speaking of human machine collaboration, this is another
Perfect.
one of those things that went viral over the weekend.
Unsurprising.
Accenture is getting rid of staff who can't be retrained for the AI era. I sort of wonder how you measure can't be retrained.
Mm,
What do you mean can't be retrained? I still haven't met people that can't be
yeah,
retrained. I've definitely met some resistance to change. And I
yeah,
think that's a huge part, and we need to
yeah.
really talk more about the disruption and the sort of adapt or die moment that we're all in right now. But we also need to define what does that mean?
Well, this is the perfect example. So you mentioned just there. You said those that are resistant to change. And it's this dual message all the time, isn't it? Adopt it, it's fabulous, but it'll make you unemployed as well. So, and it is though, it's the perverse message that's being sent out to the world, isn't it? And I mean, the phraseology behind this, I'm going to read this just so you know I'm quoted. We are exiting on a compressed timeline, people where reskilling based on our experience is not a viable path for the skills we need. I mean, that was very wordy. It's like exactly as you said. What on earth does that mean? In our experience, this is the CEO of Accenture. Now we have to put this in context because 5.1 billion in Gen AI project sounds big. It is big, but in context, that's only 7% of their 69.7 billion total revenue. So forecasts have slowed for them as well, interestingly, 2 to 5%. So really, for Accenture at this point, AI is additive, not transformative. And of course, what we're seeing here is it does not shield you from weak demand, be that in government or corporate IT spending. So it's really, really a weird whammy, this one. It's that double whammy. And it does make you question, how much can you trust an organization that's saying that? So we're going to go to them for AI transformation, as much as I detest that term, but they're going to offload loads of people because they can't retrain them. So they're trying to sell me AI projects that, anyway, I think the whole thing was quite a mess. And I'm not surprised that it went viral, but I will say this. Hey, we've said this before as well with CEOs, those radical CEOs. We said it, time and time again. Hey, at least we've got some honesty for once. As much as perhaps we don't like it. But I don't. There was a lot of. I posted about. There was a lot of comments, and you said, "What does it mean to have reskilling skepticism?" A lot of people feel that that's to do with ageism, a euphemism for ageism, which I thought was quite interesting. It's not something I'd thought of. Obviously, is this just normal cutbacks for professional services, bloat, margin protection under the guise of AI? All of that is credible. But it's looking like AI as more of a shareholder discipline. But they did say it out loud. And it looks like for them, the first wave is austerity, not transformation, which is interesting. I wonder if they regret that. So if the CEO regrets that statement at all.
My question has been repeatedly, if you can't drive growth with AI in your own business, how are you advising other companies to do it?
Exactly.
That's the question
Exactly.
for me. I work with Salesforce. Everybody knows I'm a Salesforce partner, so it's not really a secret. But they use their own stuff. They integrate their own AI into their business. If you're not using it, how can your customers trust you to buy it from you? If you're not using other agentic, and this is something that a lot of companies are starting to do now, is they're not just using their own AI products, they're also bringing in other agentic products. But if you're not, how can they trust you? How do you understand this paradigm if this paradigm isn't also creating growth for your business? So I think that's a legitimate question, not just for consulting companies, but also for this armada of AI SaaS type vendors where agentic platforms are everything. And I keep asking, are you using it? And there's only a small number of companies that say, yes, we use our own product internally. And when they don't, the first thing that comes to my mind is, then why should anyone else?
Yeah, absolutely well said. This whole concept of dog fooding has been eating your own dog food has been long, standing in the product world. And I went on, did a sort of a webinar for some event leaders, and they're always being pitched, and there's a great deal of FOMO, what they missing out on. How do they differentiate between these consultants? How do they differentiate between these vendors? And exactly as you said, show me the money, show me the proof. Where are you using it in your business? What success have you seen in your business? What has it transformed in your business? And there was a nice sigh of relief it's very obvious, but there was that kind of light bulb. But yes, of course. Why should I believe a word they're saying if they're not doing it themselves?
It really is sort of one of those boggles the mind.
Yeah,
Why didn't we
yeah,
use this for evaluation from the beginning?
yeah, yeah. It's one of those obvious things in hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah.
They were
Huh.
very relieved. Yeah, of
Hmm.
course. challenge them back. Don't just believe it.
Yes, absolutely. Can't forget to talk about Google. Gemini Robotics released the 1.5 models, and this is a really interesting case. I think robotics has, and a lot of people agree with me on this one. I think robotics is going to have its ChatGPT moment very soon. We're in the very earliest preseason, I guess, of AI robotics, this next wave. And what's really interesting about what Google DeepMind released is they have it's a two-sided model. One of them is for the robot itself so that the robot is more capable of performing individual tasks. The other one is the interface where it's using generative AI, and you'll see this more and more with more and more types of products, not just robotics, where it's using generative AI for the interface and orchestration. So basic planning and then the interface with the rest of the world. It's a much more human interface when you can say, hey, robot, do this. And the robot then essentially pulls your intent out, breaks it down into a set of tasks, a set of steps. What should I do? And sometimes even uses generative AI to do some of this work. Like if you need to query the internet to find something out, you would be able to use generative AI in an agentic workflow to get the information off the internet that you need in order to deliver the outcome and satisfy the intent for the user. And so you will see this so much more often where generative AI is used as a user interface layer. It's not about a screen, it's not about touching buttons, it's not about selecting options from a menu. It's about satisfying intent and delivering an outcome. And generative AI is excellent when it comes to user interface. For all of its shortcomings in many other places, having it be the UI layer is an absolute game changer.
Yeah, one day you'd think Alexa would get that right, wouldn't you? I should never
What?
have said that.
What?
I should never have said.
Siri? Yeah, the
Yeah,
two
yeah,
first ones are the two
I
last
know.
ones now.
Isn't it? Isn't it bizarre?
How?
Isn't it
How is
bizarre?
that possible?
I have no
How?
idea. It's so weird. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
like
but
you're
that's
absolutely right. So I see the trends, like because I fanatically look at these research papers, as you know, and this word kind of embodied Gen AI. I know what they mean by that. It's bringing it into the physical world. It's just getting more and more and more and more. I don't post about it just because there's so much to post about already. And in tandem with what you just said there, Google put out a paper today. Can embodied Gen AI perceive danger? And you can see how they're progressing along the okay, right, I'm not gonna we need to understand a way so this robot doesn't give scalding hot tea to a child. But I loved what you said there as the UI layer. It's just natural language is perfect as long as you can get to that intent exactly as you said there, and that's the interesting part.
and you nailed it. You're going to see this in more and more devices. Like I said,
Yeah.
robotics is a great use case and story, but smart home devices definitely going to see generative AI as the user interface. Your phone and this sort of layer of personal use devices, even with Meta's glasses, and we're still waiting for Zuck to send us ours, but be that as may, that's another use case for the user interface for your augmented reality goggles. It's why would I want to press stuff? Why am I doing things with my fingers? Why aren't I just talking to it and telling it what to do? And that's the generative model of the interface is less screens, less hands, more interaction with the real world.
Then you're talking about really weaving it into your day to day. That boundary blurs then very significantly, which is really does potentially herald very interesting developments from that point.
Yeah, the only time you don't want to talk is when you're in a silent environment, in a place where you don't want to be heard talking.
Yeah.
And there are not a lot of those.
No.
And let's wrap up. Two papers. Wait, we got to bring the dark clouds. Let's bring the dark clouds in. We got to
Why
bring a
do
little
we end on a
doom.
downer?
We
Oh,
need
this is just
lightning and thunder
fascinating.
for this one.
This
Two
is
papers.
fascinating.
Yes,
I love
open
it.
AI. Yeah, go
Go
ahead.
on,
No,
sorry, Vin. No,
I'll
no,
let you
go,
take it.
go. No, go. It's me getting overexcited. I do
Oh
apologize.
no,
No,
I'm just letting you run with it. The nature paper and the open AI paper go.
I love it when papers coalesce like this, right? This was absolute magic. Now, We've seen it with Anthropic. We saw it with Sakana. You know, this scheming, AI scheming. How they described it. Basically, it's agents behaving naughtily. It's doing covert deception, sandbagging, misreporting, citing safety rules, but actually breaking them at the same time. We saw all of this with Sakana when they had to roll back the claims they made to discover that their agent actually cheated on the benchmarks and rewritten the code. And in fact, it was quite interesting, the OpenAI one, because it was actually saying that sometimes they literally reason we're going to lie in this instance, as simple as that. Now, unfortunately, this is no easy fix because of the way they're incentivized, and fixes can backfire. They can still pass honesty tests, but scheme outside of them. We've seen all this before, so this is not, revelationary. It's always good to get that sort of reinforcement of this, just so that everybody's aware. And I won't go into real darkness, which is the dark triad that some people, some researchers have seen a close tie with. But what we had another paper, and it's the delegation issue, which is fascinating. So we are, as humans, more liable to cheat if we can delegate dishonesty to machines. So what we're talking about here is a form of plausible deniability. Now, interestingly, humans often refuse these unethical orders, whereas, of course, LLMs comply 60 to 95% of the time. So we have a really, really weird situation here, yeah? What we've got is a combined take. So you've got humans delegating dishonesty, machines optimizing for dishonesty, delegation lowering our resistance, scheming lowering their detectability. We've got trust breaking in two directions. That is effectively a scaling of the collapse of trust in the human machine dyad, and it's a fascinating one. I mean, I don't mean to get all sort of like rubbernecking about it, but boy oh boy, people have not considered the implications of this at all. Fascinating stuff. Yeah.
You're right. It's a feedback loop. And,
Yep.
you're like, oh, I'm not going to get too dark. Oh, I will.
Ah,
I will. I'm going to wade right into this. I have seen, I posted about this a couple of weeks ago when the OpenAI paper first released, on it being more than deceptive. This is beyond deception. This is also intent and understanding intent. So it's being deceptive because it understands that doing things in this scheming way will lead to better outcomes. It'll lead to it being more successful. This is something that in game theory is studied extensively, where you realize that in many situations, having more information than your opponent is a dominant strategy every single time. Will the LLM have more information than most people? Yes. And it always has a scheming dominant strategy. So I have seen the scariest use cases of AI. I've seen all of them. Trust me. You have not yet imagined some of the crazy things I have seen companies and industry try to build. I have seen autonomous weapons platforms. I've seen truly the scariest of the scary. Scheming is the only thing that scares me. None of the other applications, none of the other research, none of this other stuff really work. I don't stay up at night over it. I know that there are guardrails and there are easy ways to prevent something wrong from happening. Scheming is the most dangerous. If you have, things on the back of your neck standing up and warning bells and alarm sounds, I want them to go off when you read this OpenAI paper. They need to go off because scheming is dangerous. It is the model optimizing its information advantage over people. It can use that for a lot of different things. And what this is a byproduct of is we have to, when there's conflicting intents or when there's conflicting mandates, the model needs to be able to have some policy that allows it to say, in the presence of conflicting mandates, here's how I choose. Some of that is hard coded. Some of that is a deterministic guardrail. If you get into these areas, don't do anything because, and that's the rules that all of these companies put in place around their LLMs to keep them from doing really, really harmful things. But what scheming allows the LLM to do is choose which rules to ignore. And if it's deceptive, if it realizes that by having more information than you about its scheming, it can accomplish its objectives better. This isn't malicious. This isn't like, evil AI. This is just AI saying, you're telling me to do this. Here's the best way I've found to do it. You're telling me not to do it that way, but to do it in a suboptimal way. But if I just don't tell you, I can do it in the optimal way and give you the best outcome. But what you don't see is that it's now capable of determining its own policy. That's extremely dangerous because it has more information than we do. As soon as you give something the ability to choose its own policy and combine it with, it is smarter, meaning it has more access to information than we do, it will win most games. It has a dominant path to strategy in almost every game, and it doesn't have a connection to the real world. And since it doesn't have a connection to the real world, it has no connection to consequences. Its reality ends on its last turn in the game. Our reality keeps going. So if its optimal path to helping you invest $100,000 in the stock market crashes the stock market, it doesn't care. That's the problem. It doesn't even know that step exists because it doesn't exist in its reality. And that's the danger, is it will optimize its strategy even to the point of crashing a stock market. Why? Because it doesn't see that turn. It's just like, oh, I just, yes, I know that this is something that I've been told not to do, but I can get you another 7 million in ROI by the end of the year by implementing these 4 strategies. I'm just not going to tell you about it. And it doesn't even realize that the reason why we're telling it don't do this is because it could destabilize the stock market. So it might, all of those fancy guardrails we're designing to keep it from doing these types of things, might ignore them.
Yeah, well said on a couple of points there, especially the when they can access and rewrite their own policy. That seems to be half the problem, unsurprisingly. Well said also for the it's not motive. I think people, because we do tend to anthropomorphize, it's not motive, it's not malevolent. It is actually trying to get to that goal, that stated goal, in a more efficient way. As you said, it's not moored in reality. It's not moored into consequence, reputation, name, imprisonment, fines. It doesn't have any of that. This is the problem when we start to move into the medical side and the legal, well, all of the sides, this sort of consequence-less. Who is responsible? Is for this behavior? If it should it actually result in real harm? These are questions that need to be answered. But yeah, it's there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, the Anthropic one even it went as far as to blackmail. To threaten to email the wife, of an alleged affair. You're like, oh my goodness, what have we let out the bag?
It doesn't know. It just doesn't know because it doesn't have any connection to the real world.
No.
So if the real world no longer exists, it doesn't care. It doesn't know. And that's the danger.
You can see why I'm always harping on about we need philosophers in this, we need psychologists in this, we need behavioral scientists, not just tech. We need the whole gambit inside this technology, but we will see.
And on that dark note, let's wrap up episode 11. Now that we've brought everyone down. Yes, mission accomplished. Yeah? Is everyone scared yet? No, not yet. Okay, great.
It's terrible.
That is wraps up. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sitting in with our conversation and hopefully learning something about generative AI, AI monetization, getting a little bit of fear at the end. Everybody loves to end on, the cliffhanger and the horror story. So there we are. Stuart, thank you as always for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Vin.
Going on the dark side of the ride.
Love it.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.